Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. And I want to send a special thank you to Meredith Smith, Julia Broussard, and all of the other organizers who had a hand in planning this evening's events. And wow, thank you so much, President Fitz, for that wonderfully kind introduction. I must say, working with you over the last several years has ushered in some of the most defining moments of my life and career. I truly appreciate you. Now, I'm going to tell you all a quick story. President Fitz doesn't know this, but when I joined his team in 2016, I wanted to learn a little bit more about him. And one of the first things I discovered was after his first year of law school at Yale, he took a year off to research and write a book with none other than trailblazing civil rights icon Judge Leon Higginbotham. The book is titled In the Matter of Color, and it takes a deep look at race in the American legal process during the colonial period. It describes the ways in which the law has contributed to injustices suffered by Black Americans for no other reason but simply matters of color. Needless to say, I was impressed, and as I continued to look into the career and background of President Fitz, I realized he's been committed to fighting injustices for many, many years. So I said to myself, oh, this I can get with. And I'm so happy I did, because over the years, I've seen President Fitz consistently take many steps, big and small, that just launches Tulane to the next level. I see him addressing matters of social justice in his own way. So President Fitz, on behalf of the Tulane community, I want you to know that we appreciate your efforts and thank you for leading us forward. Now, I'm a native New Orleanian, and like the pastors of the old school Southern Baptist churches would say before they stood to preach before their congregations, I won't be before you long. I just have a few things I'd like to share with you all this evening. So let's talk about 2020. This year has been rough. We have cried, screamed, grieved, and at times thought we were going to succumb to the challenges we're all facing. And yet, we have endured through the loss of loved ones, the loss of the ability to fully embrace family and friends, and many other things we used to take for granted. And for our BIPOC community, I'm going to speak directly to you here, since tonight is about supporting you. We have an additional set of challenges. Our people are disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, and we have lost too many of our brothers and sisters at the hands of police violence. And while experiencing all of that, as students of color, some of you have had to come to school and act like everything is okay. You have had to meet every one of your obligations. Study hard, go to class, write your papers, go to work, engage in your student leadership positions, and the list goes on and on. You have an obligation to your family, and for some of you, you're the first in your family to go to college. That's an entirely different level of stress. Your hearts are hurting, your emotions are raw, and you have a nagging pain that just seems like it's going to occupy your being. But you are required to show up. And there's an expectation in this world that you'll act, produce, and behave normally. And on top of all of that, you have to do this while being a Black or brown person at an institution where the number of folks who look like you are in the minority. That reality means most people around you, no matter how hard they try, may not get what you're experiencing and feeling. And to be honest, in some cases, especially this year, you don't even have the capacity to explain how you're feeling. Trust me, I know. I remember a day soon after George Floyd's death. I remember pulling up to campus and I parked my car. I must have sat in my vehicle for about 30 minutes just trying to find the will to get up and get out of my car and get into my office. No matter how hard I tried, I could not get those awful images I saw in the news out of my mind. I was afraid, I was frustrated, and a host of many other feelings. But I took a deep sigh, I got myself together, and I pushed forward. Just like you, because I knew that if I was hurting and broken inside, so many of our faculty, staff, and students felt the same way. So I got out of that car and I did my job. Now I know many of you are probably saying, what does that have to do with sexual violence? The answer is quite simple. Absolutely everything. The crime of sexual misconduct is devastating. It runs counter to who we are as an institution and community. And one instance, just one, of sexual misconduct is one too many. Now, imagine a student who has been the victim of some form of sexual violence and the devastating impact that can have on their lives. Now also add the weight of simply being a person of color and the lived experiences that come with that. The results for those students can be catastrophic in an entirely different way. So just a few years ago, the Tulane community was shaken to its core as we focused on the devastating results of our climate survey. Our hearts were broken as we reviewed the numbers of students who were victims of sexual misconduct at some point in their lives. Those responses weren't just numbers on a spreadsheet or a document. They were people. They were our students. So university administration and stakeholders from across the campus and student leaders took immediate action to respond. We knew we were already running stellar programs and initiatives, but clearly they weren't working as well as we'd hoped, and we needed to do more. We knew the best thing we could do was shift the negative culture that was seemingly prevalent on our campuses. The heat was on, and so many people worked together to do their part to end sexual violence at Tulane. Now let's fast forward to today. To some extent, that social energy regarding sexual violence has decreased, and the focus has shifted to other important topics of the day. Now, of course, we still have subject matter experts like the amazing Meredith Smith to handle our Title IX issues, and so many others who are working to diligently eradicate sexual misconduct from our campuses. But far fewer people are talking about sexual misconduct at Tulane. Far fewer. So I want us to be very clear. Social inequities like racism and sexism are not issues that we pick up and put down. They are not issues that sway with public opinion or mood. They are not popular trends for us to post about on TikTok or Instagram. They are very real problems that must be addressed with diligence and relentless prosecution. And as a society, we have a choice to make about the type of community we want to be. Now let me explain. There is not a single line in my job description that says Will Ferbos is responsible for Tulane's anti-racism and sexual violence prevention efforts. But I can tell you both items are an integral part of my work because I deliberately choose to make it so. I choose to make anti-racism and anti-sexual violence work intersect with budgets, board meetings, community engagements, and any other matters that come across my desk. So I'd like to charge the entire Tulane family with this. Choose. In your own way, choose to fight the structures that harm your neighbor. We are all part of a community whose motto is not for oneself, but for one's own. So how are you choosing to help? Tonight's event is about supporting our students of color. And Tulane is actively working to continually enhance the programming and support available to all of our students. But as a community, we can also support students in other ways as well. Choose to listen, believe survivors, and offer to help them in whichever way they feel comfortable. Choose to get involved. There are many amazing organizations like SAFE, the Community Engagement Advocates, Peer Health Educators, and several others. Choose to be a mentor. Give your time. Choose to be a welcoming or smiling face to a person who looks like they're having a rough day. And if all else fails, choose to be a decent human being. Properly call out bad behavior, whether it's racism, sexism, or whatever else, whenever you see it. Silence and inaction are not acceptable. Now, as I told you at the beginning of my remarks, I wouldn't be before you too long. So I want to thank you for your time this evening. But please remember, choose well, be kind to each other, extend grace to one another, take care of yourselves, reach out to us if you need anything. We are here to support you. It has been an honor to speak with you this evening. Have a great night.